There's this massive global crisis that's happening right under our noses, stretching all the way from the farm to our own refrigerators. It's food waste. So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the true scale of the problem. We'll debunk some of the myths that stop us from taking action, and then we'll look at real solutions that are already making a huge difference. So let's just start with one number that, well, it should really stop you in your tracks: 40%. That's how much of the food that we produce on this entire planet gets lost or wasted. Think about that. Before it even has a chance to get to a plate, almost half of it is just gone. This isn't just, a few apples going bad. It's a massive systemic crisis happening every single day. Now, here's where it gets really crazy: the environmental cost. We all talk about how bad flying is for the planet, right? Well, all the food we throw away creates nearly 4 times the greenhouse gas emissions of the entire global airline industry. And it's not just the food itself, it's all the water, the land, the energy, the labor, all of it just wasted, creating this enormous carbon footprint. All right, so just how big is this problem, really? Let's take a look at the staggering scale of it, and we're talking across the entire globe. This right here, this breaks it down to what you or I might waste. On average, a person on Earth wastes about 132 kilograms of food every year. But look at the United States. An American wastes around 159 kilos, which is about 350 pounds a year. That's just a crazy amount of food. And what's interesting is, while India's number looks a lot lower per person at 55 kilos, that story kind of flips when we zoom out. So yeah, now look at it on a national scale. Because of their huge populations, China and India end up having the highest total food waste in the world. We're talking millions and millions of tons. It really shows you how complex this is. It's about our individual habits, for sure, but it's also about national infrastructure and population size. Okay, so if the problem is this big, this obvious, why aren't we all doing more? Well, a lot of it comes down to a few persistent myths. So let's bust them. This is always the first one people bring up, right? The assumption that setting up programs for composting or food rescue is going to cost a ton of money. But is that actually the case? Turns out it's actually the complete opposite. These programs save money. Look at Olympia High School in Washington. They're saving almost $2,000 a year just on their trash bills. Or in Maryland, Montgomery County Schools rescued 400 tons of food for just $90 per school. The reality is, wasting food is what's really expensive. Okay, so what about the other big excuse? The idea that these programs are just too complex, too hard to manage, especially for a busy school or a small town. Well, the numbers tell a different story. The World Wildlife Fund's Food Waste Warriors program has already been rolled out in 600 schools all across the United States, and that includes a lot of schools in low-income areas. This just proves that these programs are not only manageable, they're scalable. You can tailor them to fit pretty much any community. Now, this is a huge barrier, and it's all based on fear. You've got businesses, schools, restaurants that are terrified they'll get sued if someone gets sick from food they donated. So, to be safe, they just throw perfectly good food in the trash. But what does the law actually say about this? Well, in the United States, there's a federal law designed specifically to stop this from happening. It's called the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act. And what it does is, it protects anyone who donates food in good faith to a nonprofit from being sued. The whole point of the law is to encourage people to donate, not to punish them. So, now that we've busted those myths, let's get to the good part, the solutions. We're going to start small, at the local level, where some pretty simple actions are having a huge impact. And these aren't just ideas. This is stuff that's actually happening, with real results. In Olympia, a school district put in bulk milk dispensers and got rid of 400,000 milk cartons a year. We already talked about Montgomery County's super cheap fridge program. And maybe one of the simplest ideas out there is the share table, where kids can just leave unopened food for other students who might still be hungry. It's simple, it's effective, and it builds community. Local action is awesome, but what happens when a whole country decides to tackle the problem together? For that, let's turn to India and their really unique collaborative approach. This whole effort is being led by India's Food Safety and Standards Authority, or FSSAI. As part of their bigger Eat Right India movement, they launched a really specific initiative called Save Food, Share Food. And this isn't some top-down government rule, it's a nationwide call to action for everyone to get involved. So what's the big idea here? It's all about building a network. They're connecting businesses that have extra food with charities and volunteers who can pick it up and get it to people who are hungry, all safely and efficiently. The goal is to turn food rescue into a smooth, nationwide operation. And this quote from FSSAI's Mr. Inishi Sharma really gets to the heart of their strategy. He says, the government cannot solve this challenge on its own. Having an active and robust private sector, which is ready to support and partner with us, is critical to the success of such a project. They know they can't do it alone. It's all about public and private groups working together. It's a true model of collaboration.
Okay, so we've seen the problem, we've seen some of the solutions, but if you're thinking, what's the best thing I can do? Where should you start? Well, thankfully, there's a really clear framework for this. It's called the food waste hierarchy, and the order here is absolutely critical. The number one best possible solution is to just prevent the waste from ever happening in the first place. After that, the next best thing is to get extra food to people who need it. Then you can feed it to animals. And only then, at the very bottom, is composting. Look, composting is great, don't get me wrong, but feeding people is always, always better.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. For so long, we've been focused on how to produce more and more food for a growing planet. But maybe we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. Maybe the real challenge isn't about growing more at all. Maybe it's about being better stewards of the incredible abundance we already have. Wasting less isn't just a fix, it's a totally different way of thinking about our relationship with food.